Microphone is like.
All right.
All right, we're live, Joe.
Hello, Brad. How are you?
Well, I'm here in cloudy, cold Georgia today. That's the view
Oh,
behind me is the view from my parents' front yard out in the
oh,
woods.
wow.
So we have a rural broadband connection problem here, and
Oh,
with my two kids and my two nephews and my sister-in-law and my wife and my mother all on internet at the same time, it's usually ugly. The good news is they all went to see Spider-Man together. So I got, whatever bandwidth is here. The gerbils are out spinning the wheel and making it go as fast as possible. So we'll see what happens.
well, yeah, it's interesting for me too, is that, since you left, we have a power outage right now, a big storm rolled through. So I'm just running, I shut everything down but the webcam. I'm running the laptop off battery, connected through the cell phone hotspot. So I might get a little clunky too. So
All right.
um, you're not
We're just
alone.
going old school today.
That's right, man.
We
We
need
just
the
need to get one of
AOL
those.
dial up.
No, we need like the Pringles potato chip cans with the string hanging off the end all the way to Georgia. Hello, hello.
You know what? I was listening to a podcast on the way up here called The Apology,
Mhm.
and it was about an artist in 1980, and he created a phone line called the Apology Line, and he called himself Mr. Apology, and it was in New York City, and he had people call in and apologize for shit they'd done. And he told them, you need to remain anonymous. Don't say your name. Don't give any indication of what you've done. But people called in with like hideous shit that they had done, like horrible crimes, people who were like mugging and beating people on a regular basis, just all kinds of crazy, crazy shit. And I'm sure some of it was made up, but he ran this thing for 15 years. But what was interesting was, and the reason when you said the cans with the string, the thing that he started doing was at first it was just, and he said he was going to make them publicly available. So after the first couple of years, he did an exhibit where he set up 5 phone booths in an art gallery, and you could go in and just listen to the confessions or the apologies,
Oh, nice.
right?
That's clever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really clever, and they said the most interesting thing was that what happened is the 5 people that were in the booth listening became part of the exhibit because you could see their reactions on the phone to these horrible stories, right? People being abused, people just all kinds of shit, crazy shit, and but what he started doing was he started, instead of just having at the beginning where it would say, this is the apology line, don't give away any information you don't want people to know, this is going to be publicly available eventually, blah, blah, blah. He started editing into the front of the message clips from people's apologies and confessions, and then his own commentary on them. And what happened was the people who had called in would start calling in to respond to the clips at the beginning. So he started getting in this like entire conversation with people with this delayed thing because people would call in, they'd leave their message, they'd listen to the other messages, they'd respond to those messages, and then he would commentate on all of the messages and how people were responding to it. And he got to a point where he started engaging with a dude who claimed to be a serial killer. And he was killing gay men in New York City. But like prostitutes, people that people weren't looking for. And he would get into these conversations with them and engage with this one guy, whereas it almost took over the whole apology line, right? And I thought about it and I thought, well, that's really fascinating. I haven't finished the whole podcast series. I'll finish it on the way home. But the interesting thing was that it became kind of this, before the internet, it became like this forum, right? Where people were listening to it every night, like passionately would listen and digest these stories and engage with people. So it was like a cross between like an internet forum and a chat room and a podcast all together. So I just thought it was fascinating that how he kind of stumbled into this communication medium just using a standard old school phone line. right?
Was he doing
And
was it a 900 number line?
no, well, that's what happened to him about in the 90s. I guess it was late 80s, early 90s. All the 900 numbers blew up, and two companies started directly copying him with 900 lines. So they were charging $1 a minute, $1.50 a minute for people to call and confess and do their apologies, but they were also advertising on television about their lines. So he was getting pissed off and would record him calling them and then put that on his phone line as well. It was crazy. Really fascinating. The whole engagement with the serial killer kind of is the underlying theme of the story now. So it's going to be curious to see where that went, because there was a cop involved who was a profiler. And anyway, it was very interesting. But what was interesting was it was kind of a precursor to what we have now with the internet, right? Because he was pre-internet, but he was doing it on a phone line, just this crazy thing. Anyway, that was very interesting. So, hey,
Sounds
we
like
got
that one show, Mind Hunters. It's out.
Yeah.
It could be like an episode on there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but I never heard anything about this catching. I think we would have heard if he actually caught it. There was a really bad HBO movie made before he got engaged with the serial killer. There was a really bad HBO movie that they paid him like $60,000 to make an HBO movie, and evidently it was just dreck and nonsense, and it's just funny. Anyway, it's fascinating. You know, I love these storyline podcasts. My whole family's listening together on the car ride, so you know, the podcast family. So we brainstormed live last DeFi lunch and decided we're going to do the We're Forked Fund and
Club.
Sorry, the We're Forked Club. Yes, we're structuring it so everyone knows. We're going to structure this as an investment club because it fits all the rules. We could structure it as a exempt fund, but it's just much easier from a legal perspective for us to set this up as an investment club, and all of the members will be voting on which rebase tokens we're investing in. So it fits the model. That's the criteria really for an investment club, is that the members vote together to decide what they're investing in. So that's what we're going to do. We've had 13 people plus Joe and myself, so 15 people agreed to invest in the investment club together, and that's a couple of them don't want to do the full $3,000 that we discussed on the show, so they're doing $500 and $1,500. We're just going to prorate the management of it. If anybody else listening didn't catch that episode, please take a listen. I'll quickly describe it to you, but essentially this is going to be a club that invests in a wide variety of rebase tokens, all of the Olympus DAO forks, and we're going to categorize them. Joe has done a ton of work compiling the list in a spreadsheet that we've put together that we'll share with everybody, and we're going to set up voting so we can vote on them. These will be across multiple chains. So I've been doing the work of researching what tools might be available, indexing tools, that kind of thing, that would allow us to do this. And unfortunately, unless somebody knows of one, there doesn't seem to be one yet that is completely cross-chain. It looks like we may be able to use Gelato Network to some extent for some components of this, but they are not fully cross-chain. And by that, I mean Phantom, Avalanche, Polygon. I think those are our three for now, Joe. Binance Chain. Binance Smart Chain. So those are the four chains we're going to be on. We're not going to be doing any mainnet investments just because the gas fees would kill us from an investment club perspective. But we can purchase Geom now. Sorry, Geom. I just converted all my SOM this weekend to Geom version 2 of Olympus DAO. So we'll be buying Geom on the other chains as part of the fund as well. And then we're going to rank and comment on all of the other Olympus DAO forks that we found. And we'll have a few that are just complete degen, high APY. And the rest we're going to base it on, do they have a purpose? Is the team doxed? Not a requirement, but something that makes it interesting. What kind of partnerships they have. Just kind of criteria to help us determine the ones we think have the optimal play. And then the idea is that we will, over a period of time, take profit. We're going to decide that as a group, but we have some racial parameters. We'll take some profit off the top of some of these, and we'll reinvest it later, or we'll pay out the profits to the club. And then we will also cut our losses. Right now, we have it set that if a given investment in a given fork drops below 50% in value, we will cut that and put it into the top performing fork at that time. But again, we'll decide that as a group. But the We're Forked Fund is, we've got the domain. We haven't set up a website yet. We have a Twitter handle, We're Forked. And I think we're just about ready to go. So in the short term, we want to get started sooner than later because the prices are so good right now on a lot of these protocols. So we are going to manage this manually. So everyone involved will send their part of the investment club into a wallet address. We will publish that wallet address. We will publish a link to a DBase page showing all the investments in that wallet, and we will invest from that wallet into the various protocols that we decide on as a group. Did I cover everything, Joe?
Yeah, I think that's basically all of it. A couple of things though. One of the things we're trying to evaluate here is, execution risk. So when Brad talks about doxed or not doxed, we're just trying to get a good handle on who's actually really behind it to avoid the worst case scenario in some of these. But we're also going to distribute and diversify across the whole basket. So that way, if there's a couple of bad apples in there, it's not going to drag down the whole returns of the club. So trying to do those two things, but at the same time, look at how the rebase mechanisms work, and then different wrinkles. Like Brad said, if it drops to a certain level, then one option is going to the highest performing ones. Other times, sometimes what I do when things are up, if it's something I really believe in that's down, I take some of that and put it in the one that's down, just to accelerate the rebasing. So a lot of these things, like that I've been looking at recently, let's say LifeDAO, we went in. I went in a little bit last week. That's gotten. I mean, it was up to like 14 million in TVL, and it's down to like 7. So it's got completely gashed. But at the same time, we know that everybody's looking for which ones of these are underperforming. So, I think it's such a scenario where if we have a docs team that has a good mission, we think they can pull it off. It's not just all about the rebase. Then, we might contemplate some of those buying the dip on those. But just a variety of strategies that we'll all, vote on particular scenarios. Another thing is that, one thing that I don't think we talked about is, the initial placements. I think we should think through, let's just say, how much of the total in the club do we invest in the first round of rebasing since they're so low? I always like to leave a little powder dry for, DCAing or buying the dip, but we want to kind of think through that. And, Brad, you and I think through what makes the most sense there.
Yeah, I think we should leave a little aside, but I'm almost inclined to say we put it in one of the more stable ones like Time or Ohm, and then it's earning for us. And then if we want to dive in, we extract it from one of those and put it in. That way we're always earning with all the funds. And the idea is let's just see what happens. If this is an experiment, folks, again, you can lose everything. We could all lose everything we put in here. You should kind of go into this expecting that you will, just so you're safe. You're not putting any money in that you need to pay the rent or make a car payment or feed your children or pay for college. This is an experiment. This is a game. We just want to have fun with it. I will tell you this, though. One of the guys who wants in on this, he's made, he started with 10 grand in LifeDAO, but he was in very early and cleared 100 grand in LifeDAO since it launched. So, nice. And he's been skimming profits. So hopefully this latest dump by them, because they've dropped a lot, right?
Oh, yeah, they're off like 60 something percent. But, it's
they're down. They're down to $14.66 at price, and it was 120 when we started talking about this, I think.
Yeah, it went like 120 down to like 65, then up to 140, and then I think a couple of straight days of profit taking. But
Yeah.
when someone goes and pulls out 40% of the TVL and sells it, that's going to impact price. So
I mean, it's the APY is at 179 trillion. So interestingly, that the APY has dropped so much from where it was, but right now, if this is the bottom, $14.66 price, that this may be the opportunity to ride it back up.
yeah, I can't because of my bandwidth issue today. I can't really pull all the stuff up. But what is the? Can you see um, the bond rates or the
Oh,
mint
here.
rates? Are they at a discount or are they at a premium?
Oh no, they're all in the negative.
Okay. Yeah.
Negative
So
35 to negative 89.
yeah. So we would just buy spot in that situation. But you know, a lot of times we'll just see when they re-equalize that. You see those things go. To where you're getting big discounts. At this
Yep.
price, this is one where you would think that. But look, I was playing with this one. I think I only threw in a couple $100 with maybe like two of them. But so now I look at it and say, okay, so I throw another 100 in and I've got 12. So it's fine that
Exactly.
they're DCAing like 85% or so.
Yep.
So that's the kind of thing that we think about, and then hoping. Again, these are sleepers in my mind, and by that I just mean that you don't have to keep looking at them. So it gives you more time to
Right.
do other stuff. The only time you got to look is when they're down, or when, if you wrote up like your friend did, who wrote up, 10 to 100K, you're going to be trimming along the way. And then eventually, you're just playing with house money. So the way the market looks right now to me overall, is that, I think I saw crypto was up early today, 6,
Yeah. No, we
7%.
had a nice little pump this morning.
Yeah, everything was looking pretty good. I saw AVAX was cranking. But when people start feeling good, there's profits coming, then people roll back into these rebase coins a lot,
Yeah.
for the same reason. Don't have to deal with it. And everybody sees the
Exactly.
APYs and goes, oh shit, 180 trillion. Well, who's not going to throw a couple $100 on that? If it's,
Of course.
one money, let's say. So I think you're going to see a cycle back into these. And the one I really watch is, like you said, Brad, it's Ohm. I
Yeah.
look at Ohm and Klima and Time, and if I see those moving, then I know the rest are going to move. But,
Yeah.
the trick is find early and, hang in there. So what do we
Yeah.
have here?
Oh, I'm just trying to share screen. That's gelato. But
Okay.
my Firefox is not being compliant this morning, so I think I'm going to switch back to turn on sharing.
Yeah, you're kind of garbled too when that's up. So that might be
Yeah,
something else.
I'm in this. Apologies to everybody. I'm on a rural bandwidth connection right now, and it's pitiful. So apologies if I'm coming through garbled and everybody else is.
So what are you plugging into the fax machine there? Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm doing the rolling dial-up. Let me share real quick for everybody that's interested. Here are my contact names on Twitter and Telegram and Discord. B05 Crypto on Telegram and Twitter, and on Discord. There we go. Add banner and add it. So if you're interested in what we're doing, feel free to message me. You can DM me on Telegram, Twitter, or Discord. On Telegram and Twitter, it's B05 Crypto. If you want to join the investment club, on Discord, it's B05 Crypto #2143. Again, we're doing this as an investment club initially, but we have much bigger plans down the line. We just think this is a fun way for us to build a community, get everyone connected and together. We're going to start off really simply, keep everything simple and cool, but have some fun together and invest together as a club. And then Joe and I have a number of other things we have planned for the community.
Yeah. No, look at this as everybody gets to know each other better kind of situation in this one space. that I think we're all interested, or we wouldn't be here today. So, but there's other things coming too, other bigger inception projects that will expose everyone to down the road, more proper investment structures. So, But this is a way for you to kind of see how we operate and get comfortable with us, and us to get comfortable with you. So yeah, I'm excited about this.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be fun, Joe. I'm really excited about it. I you and I initially, the plan was you and I were just going to do it ourselves, but it just seemed like a lot of fun, and people seem really interested. I mean, look, we already had 13 people saying, "Hey, I'm in," and that's really cool that we've built up this level of trust. And cool thing is everybody knows who we are, so it's a lot different than a lot of DeFi. So I think it'll be fun to do this.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of, I'm looking at about 65, 70 different, rebase DAO type fork plays. And, I mean, there's some really interesting stuff. There's a couple of multi-chain ones. The ones I've looked at are, everything from Arbitrum to Kronos to, Phantom, AVAX, Binance Smart Chain, even some on ETH that, just because there's a few still there. Polygon, of course. Harmony One has 4 or 5 on it. Looking at that too. So anybody that's doing something interesting that when we were doing all the yield farming in the past, what we're always looking for: cross-chain liquidity, cross-chain, multi-chain, farming, whatever. Well, now we could kind of go that route, but with rebase tokens. That's pretty intriguing to me. So. And other ones, GameFi's in there, anything.
Yeah,
NFTs.
You've got you've got 69 in there now, I think. So, but yeah, and if any of you have suggestions, we got 2 comments. Yes, Timothy, you can do 500 instead of 3K. I think 500 is our base limit, though, Joe. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Good morning, Eamon. How are you, buddy? I need to touch base with you on Discord later today or tomorrow. So, and everybody that has asked to sign up, please know that I'm trying to work through the rest of the details with Joe, and then we'll be in touch at the latest Thursday, but probably tomorrow at some point to get things rolling. Wouldn't you say, Joe?
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Cool.
We should have, and then we'll have our target set ready, and we'll all start looking at that, over the holiday next week, and make some picks. But I think you're right. I think that, rather than, worrying about as much about stables and things like that, I can't remember, maybe we said this in another conversation, but parking and holding in like the master forks is probably a good idea, because they're at a very good price to acquire right now. Olympus DAO, let's say, and others.
Yeah.
So, we're kind of working through that strategy, which we'll obviously share. But yeah, super excited.
Yeah, me too, man. It'll be a lot of fun. Since we're both shitty connections, do you want to cover a couple of quick news things, and then what do we got? We got this article, nobody can see it because if I share, well, let me try one more time to share, see what the connection's like, see if it kills my connection. Let's try again. Okay, let's try this. Allow. All right. So, do you see blockchain startup sues Brian Armstrong for allegedly stealing its work?
Yes.
Joe?
I could see it. Yeah, I could see it. Yes.
Okay. So this is kind of this was kind of a classic tactic that a lot of VCs and startups that were more advanced would do, or still do, to other startups, which is pretend like they're going to acquire or invest. And essentially their idea is to get close to the startup so they can learn how they're doing things, and then take those concepts and apply them to what they're already building, right? So essentially, Brian Armstrong announced in an article that he wanted to start a research hub where tokens were used to pay for access to research documents so that normal people could access health research, medical research, other scientific research. And It turns out he'd been working on it, according to this lawsuit, he had been working on this concept research hub for quite a while, at least 6 months of actually building it. And a CEO of a startup that was also building something similar called Knowledger, a guy named Patrick Joyce, reached out to Armstrong and said, look, we're kind of already doing this. Maybe you could just invest. And Armstrong said, basically, yeah, I definitely think that'd be interesting. Let's get together and talk. So they got together to talk. Basically, got all of the ideas from this other startup from this founder, and then basically Armstrong not only got all the ideas and took them on a research hub, but he also hired away the CEO. So the people that are suing him are the people that invested in Knowledger, because the CEO of Knowledger evidently had a bunch of financial issues, and Brian Armstrong basically told him, look, I'll take care of your financial issues. Of course, all of this is alleged. None of this is factual yet. We don't know for sure what exactly happened, but the investors in Knowledger, and the reason I wanted to share this is I made a comment. There was a big tweet thread that was going around the other day that was basically about how DAOs were going to be corporations 2.0. I don't believe that. I think that DAOs are going to change the concept of what a corporation is and what we really need and don't need in the world. And I think that there will be a lot less corporations because DAOs in some form will be able to do a lot that a lot of corporations currently do now. But the first tweet in that thread was a tweet from Brian Armstrong about DAOs. And I just want people to understand that Coinbase and Brian Armstrong, decentralization is not in their best interest, right? They are a centralized exchange. He operates in the same old ways. He did an IPO. I think if we're going to be looking at decentralization in DAOs, we shouldn't be quoting Brian Armstrong for that. And I think this is a great example of kind of how he operates.
Yeah, no, I mean,
anyway.
It is a little bandwidth challenge when that is up coming out of here. But I could hear what you said. It was a tiny bit garbled, just so you know. But
okay.
But I completely agree with your premise that
all right.
Look, this is a centralized organization, and DAOs are a threat to it. So they're of course going to be going against a decentralized autonomous organization because they're centralized reporting, all of that, basically everything that's the opposite of a DAO. So, don't trust them.
Yeah.
Retail, newbie retail, normie retail, all of that. That's, doing everything in Coinbase, in a lot of ways, they trust what he says. And I don't think they'd ever get to the DAO level anyhow at that point. No. But I think for all of us, I think we do, as you say, can see through that. That's a bit duplicitous and not in his interest. As far as the overall model of, let's say a VC coming in and stealing things from potential pipeline, I mean, that happens all the time, unfortunately. Just hold on one second, buddy. So, challenge with no power. But coming in, but I mean, look, I guess the way that you can hope to forestall that is force the NDA before you do the meeting, but that's hard to get one signed. That's hard to enforce.
Yeah. And look, at the end of the day, these projects if this project was going to be an open source project, he could have stolen it anyway. I get all that. Yeah. But just know that someone that takes a company public is not necessarily ever going to be a part of truly being DeFi. Right. That's not somebody that's got the interest of decentralized finance in mind. He talks a good game about Bitcoin and Ethereum and how wonderful they are. And, maybe that'll change down the line, but that's not their incentive is not that. Their incentive is to be centralized. Their incentive is to be a gateway to DeFi and to make money off of everything that anybody on Coinbase is doing. Look, if you have any other doubts about Coinbase, just look at the amount of fees they charge relative to what any other exchange US exchange charges. Binance, yes, 0.075, right? Anything you do on Coinbase is going to cost you a bloody fortune. And it's because they know that most of their users are new users, right?
Right.
And and people are just coming in saying, I want to buy Bitcoin, right? So I told this story last week. I've got a friend who's late 70s. He's like concerned about the inflation. He wants to invest in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and he was ready to sign up on Coinbase. And I was like, look, go to Binance US. You're giving money away out of what you want to invest if you go on Coinbase. It's just not smart, right? And so I had to do a little more work to walk him through the interface, but that's just the nature of the beast. Anyway.
Well, yeah, but look, there's U.S. people, you're going to have to do KYC on any of these. So other ones you can do if you're just looking for an off ramp back to your bank account. I've done some stuff with Coin Metro out of Estonia. It's an American guy running it. It's KYC, but it goes straight to your bank account too, and it's much cheaper. I'm not saying park a bunch of stuff there because I don't like to park anything on centralized exchanges just because, there's been a lot of high profile hacks in the past, and they still keep coming. Now, I think Coinbase and Binance, they back it up. Like I know Binance, if they get a hack, they refund everybody, whatever.
Yeah, and it's insured.
Taken. Yeah, I mean, it's insured. But, if the whole thing got taken down, is insurance really going to cover that? I don't know.
Yeah.
But, Coinbase, Coin Metro, Binance US is actually kind of getting a lot of attention lately. It's easier to set up business accounts there. It's, the same thing as Coinbase, and it's cheaper, just fewer pairs. So, always look at all of that. But Coinbase also has a lot of good educational resources, but they're not doing the stuff that we're talking about on this show.
Absolutely.
So, that's kind of like where to me, those are off ramps into bank accounts. So, that's it.
If people are not aware, we have in the past talked about Grim Finance. They lost $30 million in a reentrancy hack 2 days ago. I guess it started. So if you've got stuff in Grim, get it out. Like we always say, nothing is foolproof. I will tell you this, that the after the fact reviews of what happened with Grim Finance, this was like some really novice smart contract code shit that their lame ass auditors didn't catch.
That's what I was going to ask.
The kind of hack that any smart contract developer worth anything should know. It's essentially a way to trick the system into thinking you deposited more than you did and be able to pull it out. So instead of 5 ETH, looks like you deposited 10 ETH. And it's a speed-based thing. But look, we all need to be very careful about where we're putting our money. And we also all need to be very careful about what we take as what truly is an audit. Because obviously Grim Finance didn't pay for the best in auditing. They rushed to get it out, and they made real kind of newbie coder mistakes in their protocol, costing about $30 million. I don't know yet. I'm monitoring their Discord. They're claiming they're setting up a method. They're trying to set up something to provide restitution to people for what they lost. But if you had stuff in Grim Finance, you'd want to go get it out. They froze the protocols so that the hacker couldn't continue to exploit it. But evidently there are others that are based on Grim Finance out there that frankly, right now I'm being very careful about what I put it into. I like the idea of investing in Olympus Forks because I know how strenuous Olympus is about security, but this can happen to anyone. So you just got to be careful. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I was reading through the Discord, all of these people that put their life savings into fucking Grim Finance. I'm sorry, people. I feel sorry for you. I'm sorry you lost money. But if number one, if you're putting everything in one place, you're not asking for it, and nobody deserves it. But come on. How many times do you have to hear, don't put money you can't afford to lose, and don't put everything in one place? It's just,
No.
especially something paying stupid APYs. If something is paying a stupid APY on yield farming on pairs, there's always a catch.
Yeah, there's a reason.
So
And it's not
look,
a
it's
good one.
okay. We're all taking advantage of these things. We're hopping in and out of things. Don't stay in something too long. Spread your risk out, and don't put money you can't afford to lose in here. Like, I'm sorry, no matter how much money you're making, piling everything else you have into the same place is not a smart move. So stop. Just stop doing it. Like, let's just all be smart about this shit.
Hey, sorry to hear about that, Timothy. He lost some in comment section in Grim. But look, I think it comes back to
I'm
what you
glad
just
not
said.
everything, Timothy, and I'm sorry that
Yeah.
happened to you, buddy.
Look, I think this is where I have a problem with like the Wall Street bets guys and, their whole stonk philosophy. What they were getting people hyped up on, out of the money options, like within 2 days of expiry. So when everything's swinging wildly, yeah, that shit moves and you can clean up, but you got to sell. And you got to sell when the time. You can't ride that stuff into oblivion. And people, I read so many stories about, I think it was the GameStop one. People were like, put all their student loan money in and they were up like 130,000 and then didn't sell and held it. And I'm like, why are you holding at that point? I mean, when the market's up, when it's going up, that's when you sell things like options, because those markets can just go away completely. So, I think that mentality has pervaded a lot of people. And, once you do it for 25 years or more, you realize that you take wins and you take profits. The 100X are few and far between. And if you get 100X, it's probably, should be all house money at that point. You should have sold all your principal and taken a decent return. And then whatever's running is still running. But, you have to think more. I mean, I recommend people think that way, because then you never lose it all. And then second, what you said, diversifying across different platforms. I run a spreadsheet where, it's just a manual, easy spreadsheet, but I just look at all the investments in Rebase and wherever, and I aggregate it based upon what chain they're on and, what platforms. So, for instance, it could be like Aave and Polygon, but some of that Aave over on Avalanche, if that's what I'm believing in at the moment, or Curve, same thing across different chains. But I also look at like, what's my percentage, because I'm paranoid of entire chains going down. That's how paranoid I get. And so,
of course,
so I look at how much do I have on Phantom, how much on Avalanche, how much on Polygon, how much in BSC, and I try to distribute that out too. So individual plays, protocols, and chains. You should be diversifying across all of that. And I think it's the only way to be safe, because then you can take hits like the Grim hack, or I was in Grim earlier. I haven't been in there for a while, so
me neither.
I
exactly.
But when I look at some of these rebases, I look at Fortress or Snowdog, or now even LifeDAO is getting into that category. You're going to take hits on some of those, but the other ones are holding up, and when they're up at a certain level, start trimming to make up for the other ones, and then decide if you're going to come in and buy the dip on those. Personally, I think with Rebase, you're sitting there for a long time, no matter what, because, the idea is, those APYs, the bulk majority of that 179 trillion% comes in like month 12 or week 52, 51. So if you're down now, it doesn't really matter, because, I started with 2 LifeDAO at maybe average about 90 a piece. And I haven't added to it, but if you run that out for a year, that still turns into like 1,300 and something LifeDAOs. With that, if that APY holds all the way, but it'll go down. But you're still ended up with a decent chunk of them. And if price rebounds, then 10 months out, 6 months out, 8 months out, that's when you start taking some profit. So I don't get overly concerned when I see things like that, as long as the team's still engaged and has more products coming, even if it is missed the first one, a la Hatter, a la Snowbank, Snowdog, a la Fortress. It's it's almost like startup funding is the way I look at it. So they can figure out what they're going to then build, and this is the financing for it. So it's the same as Series A risk, but at least you can take the money out. These are high risk plays, But just, don't panic over big swings. And, if you're going to buy the dip or DCA, dollar cost average, do it smartly, intelligently. Don't keep going all in, because you're going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
That's just my little
look. And I've done it. And the reason you and I speak to that is because we've done it.
Yeah.
I have lost piles of money and knew better. And so, and I've also leaped into things that I knew better too. So, just take a breath before you take every action, right? But whatever the action is, new shiny APY, ooh, let me get on that. Wait, take a breath, maybe wait an hour before you click sign and say, does this make sense? Am I exposing too much risk? And do I think that this is worth the risk of not knowing who these guys are, what it is, how smart they were, how good their code is, etc. Just make yourself pause before you take an action, because the worst actions happen because we do it too fast. And then once we're in, it's very difficult for us as humans to extract from a decision we've made, right? We especially if we see some early returns. But just stop yourself, pause, wait an hour and say, does this still make sense to me? Or should I rethink this and put in less, put it somewhere else, whatever.
Yeah, well, also,
and don't forget the fact that we're making ungodly high APYs. Like Olympus DAO, I was laughing at myself the other day because I'm so annoyed. There's a vote going to happen here real quickly for Olympus DAO, right? And they're going to drop the APY is going to drop to 1,000%. And I was so annoyed. And I stopped myself like 20 minutes later. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, Brad? You are annoyed that it's going to drop from 7,000% APY to 1,000% APY. Look the fuck around. Where outside of DeFi are you getting that? Where in DeFi on a protocol that's well managed with a vibrant, hard-ass driving community can you get 1,000% APY, right? And I had to stop myself and realize, because my temptation is to say, fuck it, take my money out and put it in something else, right? And I may take some of it out and put it in something else, but you got to stop and just do a reality check every now and then.
Well, it kind of goes to what we've talked about a few times, emotions. And when you see the volatility in the price moving, two things can happen. If it's going up, the old FOMOing, you feel like you're going to miss out. But, as I used to tell my dad years ago, when he saw Kramer making some pick on CNBC, I'm like, if Kramer's saying it, it's too late. It's already happened. So I use that thing here.
If Kramer's saying it, you're on the menu. You're not eating.
Yeah, you're the exit strategy, buddy.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I think it's the same here. When I see prices going up and I'm like, holy shit, I'm going to miss this. And then I take that pause for a second. I usually don't pull that trigger. Or if I do, it's at the small amount, thinking I'm going to have to add later when it corrects. But, I'm kind of getting a gauge on my emotions. So I kind of recognize that now. And it's the same when it's going down. Selling at the bottom is just it's a human instinct to do, because you're trying to preserve the capital. But, again, you have to really think what's going on here. And, at that point, it's a lot of times with rebase, it's better just to hold and do nothing, because they're going to keep rebasing you more tokens every day. So, try to think through those emotions. And I've, kind of feel like a lot of times the instinct is, well, the objective is do the opposite of what your instinct is telling you. And, because usually that's driven by different things. Obviously buying at the top is driven by greed. Buying at the bottom or selling at the bottom is driven by fear. So just recognize those emotions and, try to mitigate them yourself. And then, when you do it enough times, you'll realize that, some percentage of that you're going to be right, some percentage wrong. But I never felt like I've missed anything. I felt like sometimes I've sold too early, and I felt like sometimes I've held on too long. But I don't think that on the top, I don't ever feel like I've missed one. It's easy to say, oh, I should have bought Bitcoin in 2013 and, I'd be a bazillionaire now. But, you didn't. And
Right.
honestly, I feel like if I'd bought it at
No.
$1, I would have been selling it at 10. I'm not a true
Hell
believer
yeah.
in this
Hell
on this
yeah.
stuff.
Well, a 10x
So
return, like,
yeah, and then buy the dip again.
yeah.
So, I think it's something that you have to learn about yourself, but professional money managers, remember there's no emotion in that decision at all. It's
Yeah.
it's just, what is the best risk mitigated move to make here? And they're willing to pull the plug
Well,
on stuff, but you
and
don't.
let me
But
just say something to people here right now. I've been someone who has meditated for years, and if you want, meditation's great, makes you relax, reduces stress, yada yada yada. But that's not the real point of meditation. The point of meditation is to help you realize that most of your thoughts are a waste of time, and emotions actually control you. It allows you to see your thoughts for what they are and to slow your thinking.
yeah,
So I would highly recommend simple breathing meditation. Start at 5 minutes a day, move it up to 15 minutes a day, and then move it up to twice a day. And you will be amazed at how good a grip you get on your decision making. So just a suggestion.
yeah. Well, because we all get that like kind of panicky feeling sometimes, fear, panic, whatever, pending doom. Um, and that's when you have to really be paying attention to why you're in something. Why are you in that
Yeah.
token or stock or whatever? And retest those assumptions. Do they still
Yeah.
hold? And
Yeah.
that's when you make decisions. You shouldn't. I mean, I just don't think you make decisions off the chart per se at that point only. I think it has to be the whole basket of things why you got in the first place. Are those
Yeah.
assumptions still valid? So
Yeah.
that's what we're going to bring to this, um, for everyone that's involved in the club, is that type of thinking. That's why I don't. Maybe we'll get lucky, like your buddy did on LifeDAO and getting on that early. But again, that's a slightly different game. Maybe we pick a few people in the group that want to go hunt down the whitelist stuff for us, and they
Well, and they may
go
start coming to us too.
yeah, where yeah, like Diatom, I just didn't have the time to do it. Or like Stag DAO is another one that's out. I don't know how much you know about Elk and Elk Finance, but a lot of guys I
I
know have been
remember
in that.
elk. I remember talking about elk months ago.
I got it at 1 and sold at 8 in 4 hours. So that's a win. Other people hung around and they got a lot more, but it's like 260 or 250 right now, somewhere around there. But they're on all these chains. So, I guess I think it could go somewhere, but
Wait, so Stag is
Stag,
their Olympus DAO fork?
I think so. I don't even remember what chain it's on, to be honest.
Well, elk started on Polygon, didn't it?
It's rolled through all of them though, because when I bailed they were doing the first, second chain and they were doing airdrops, but they were, if I remember right, the devs were airdropping a lot more of these special NFTs to themselves. And one of the people that we both know, who was a huge investor in that, was screaming bloody murder in the Telegram chat. And I'm kind of like, well, I think this guy probably owns about 55% of this protocol. So if he's bitching,
what was he pissed about? What was he pissed about?
He wasn't getting enough of these Moose NFTs. He thought that they should go to the old holders, not the founders, but to the ones that staked up Polygon. And instead they were going predominantly to the founders who didn't put up any more money. And then they were then going to the new chain, which I think was BSC at that point. And so he had a bunch of arguments. He got him to like bend enough to where he was placated. But
I'm sure he did, because
yeah, I don't want to say the name, but you know who it is. And
yes,
but at that point I was like 8x in 2 hours. I'm done. I'm not sitting around for how this works out. So but that group, there's a wait list for Stag DAO, or all you got to do is like just chat in their Discord and you end up on the whitelist. Like, people make videos and, different things about it. And then you get whitelisted. Well, that's kind of like with, I think it was Unisdao that, that whitelist led to the IDO, which I think was at $4. And then when it went out to the public IDO part or listing or whatever you want to call it on Binance, it was $70. So if you can get the whitelist done and get in first round IDO price or get an allocation, then out of the gate, you're looking at what, $4 to 70. That's like 17x, I think, something like that, roughly. So
yeah,
that's the game to play too. And I don't have time to go do all the whitelist requirements and play the game to figure it out. But all these guys that are doing it, they're also doing it in all these metaverse land plays. So they're big in Gotchi, and a few other ones that are coming up. So that's we should probably find a couple of volunteers that would want to do that with us, for us. We could just point them to the things and they could do it, or could do it individually, do it as a group, whatever. But the point is, if you
we'll figure it out. We can expand it as we go.
Yeah, then everybody could get an allocation. Every wallet in this club could get an allocation. Outside of the club. So, that's the kind of thing I think we're looking at, something broad spectrum that can attack a lot of different opportunities and get everybody involved. I mean, as we've said before, Brad and I met in 2017 in a group on, I don't even know if was it LinkedIn is where we all found each other.
Yeah.
And it grew up to be like, 200 to 300 people all around the world, every single time zone. So you had a 24/7, 365 going that was on steroids basically at that point. And, everybody just organized in Slack, or I think we did Signal first, then Telegram, and then Slack was going on. And so it got pretty big with just all community driven. You'd love to try to do something like that, but do it right.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
There was some critical failings in some of the people there, and which is why we aren't, we weren't involved for more than a couple of months. I think a lot of fun months, but you have to have the right people too, just that you can trust. And so I'd like to try to recreate that kind of a culture, though.
Matt, me too. Totally. I think we can. And I think it's been obvious from the interactions I've already had with some of these people that I think that's what people are looking for. So I'm pretty excited about it. Hey, listen, I got to wrap up here, Joe, real quick.
Me too.
Hey, everybody, Telegram and Twitter, B05 Crypto, not O, B0, number 05 Crypto. If you want to reach out to me on Telegram and Twitter, and on Discord, B05 Crypto, pound 2143, B05 Crypto, pound 2143. We would love to chat with you. If you have ideas, if you have projects you think we should be looking at for the club, or just we should talk about on the show. Thank you for watching. Please tell your friends and family about all the fun we have here on DeFi Lunch. And feel free to DM me and reach out to me if you want to be a part of the club, or you just have some thoughts and ideas for the show. We're always open to it. Thanks for listening and watching.
Yeah, and I'll just close with, what I'm looking for too is someone who understands tokenomics and finance, like I do. Because that's a key component here in analyzing and valuing these streams and the rebases. And if, it's just another thing that I can't get to all of it. So if anybody's interested in that, just hit, I guess you could email me.
They can DM me.
DM Brad, he'll get to me. But we want someone in the mix too who can do that. And so, you'll get to learn all the ways I look at things as well. Anybody that's, interested in finance, and knows crypto and wants to learn crypto, or knows both, and is adept digitally and technically. And I don't mean coder. That'd be great if you were, but I mean,
And Joe, we also have somebody who's volunteered to help administer the community, who's also happens to be a behavioral economist. So, and he's done some token work. So I think he'd be very interested in working with you on that as well.
Yeah, cool. And finally, I've talked to a lot of social media consultant types, just for some of the other things, and I haven't really found anything I'm comfortable with. So, this is probably more of a local problem for me, but anybody in the 305 area code that perhaps is interested in doing something more directly with me on managing Twitter and things like that, and LinkedIn for me, I'd love to talk to you as well. But you can just DM Brad on that as well. Just say for Joe, and he'll get it to me. But I'm looking for somebody like that too, just to help me out.
Thanks for listening and watching, folks. We love you guys, and we'll have more information tomorrow coming out. And all of you who have reached out about the club, we will be messaging you at some point tomorrow to get things rolling.
Yeah, and hopefully the power will be back on tomorrow, so I'll have.
I still will have a slow connection tomorrow, but at least you won't. So hopefully.
Yeah. All right, everybody.
See you, buddy.
Have a great day.
Take care. Bye bye.
Cheers, man. Bye.